the sport with the bats and the balls. If you're looking for just the orange round ball sport, that is on another stream. But I'm Chris Spags here, joined by my good pal, Mr. Jake Hari, the baseball savant himself. How are you doing, Jake?
I'm doing well. Big slate today. I'm ready to donate back some of the winnings from earlier today, or I guess yesterday. That was. I had a pretty successful 2-game slate, so that's where I've been in my life. Is only can get it done on the 2-gamers lately. What about you?
Look, I didn't play at all this weekend. Actually, no, I did play a little Saturday because I was doing the show. But I took off yesterday and took off Sunday and Monday. Yesterday didn't have any NBA, so it was a bit of a weird non-work day for me. But I'm ready for MLB. This is an interesting slate where you got to make some tough choices up top, and that is what we're going to do. Let's do the big question up front, Jake. We got Jacob deGrom here in a great spot, a really great Vegas total supporting him. Maybe some weather concerns as well, but give me your thoughts on deGrom, and I guess also about this game being in delay
now. The delay we just found out about, so that I don't really know what to do with that. I didn't know that this game had I did not know this game had a weather problem at all. But I guess for me, as long as it looks like it's gonna play, and I think it still is, it's probably a good thing that there's a delay, or they're starting in a delay rather than us finding out later, which always goes well. So yeah, I'm really not concerned about deGrom. I mean, the strikeout matchup maybe isn't perfect, but he's still by far, I think, the best pitcher on this slate. I mean, you could make an argument probably for Garrett Cole, but for me, it's deGrom tonight. What about you?
For me, it's deGrom. Also, apparently, the mic issues are sounding a little crappy for some people. There's some issue. We're on a new production software, which Jake hasn't been on before. So in the effort to make our video better, unfortunately, the audio may be a little janky with me today because we're running through the same audio output. So we'll get that fixed for the next stream Jake and I do. But for now, as long as it's bearable, just please deal with it. So for me, deGrom, I think he's hard to get to with any sort of stack. Really, like there aren't even cheap stacks to really go with him in a meaningful way. I still force some in there. I think, the matchup there, a 2.4 run total, which has come up, I think, slightly to 2.5 now. It's hard to ignore for me, the upside there. I like him quite a bit. It's just I think the stacks to get elsewhere. I know the deeper dive guys were very much on Aaron Nola. I am there a little bit. I'm kind of riding with crappy pitchers for today in any lineups in which I'm not going with deGrom, though. I just feel like that's the only way to make it work. You got to go to the Brett Anderson tier, unfortunately. And your guy, Kyle Gibson, I actually have a decent amount of, too, who very worrisome for me. But yeah, I guess if you were not playing deGrom, then what would be the pivots that you'd want to go to?
Yeah, so I mentioned Cole. I mean, I do like Cole quite a bit. The problem is deGrom's on this slate for me. So, it's going to reflect in my ownership, in my exposures. It's going to be a lot more of deGrom, but he's, I think, also a fine play, kind of like Verlander yesterday. He could get in trouble with some hard contact, and you saw that Verlander just wasn't putting guys away. I don't know what was going on there. He was getting to 2 strikes for a lot of guys. I'm less worried about Cole because he's not as old as Verlander, so maybe Verlander's just a little bit getting to somewhat over the hill, whereas, again, I don't have that concern with Cole. The other guys I'm looking at, I do like the Gibson call, so I'm hoping for a low-scoring game in that what is it, Twins-Mets game. So I'm hoping for a pitcher's duel there. I do have quite a bit of Gibson. He grades out well in our projections. He grades out well in the stats that I like to look at. I don't think the lineup is that concerning either, and a pretty low total for being on the road. So yeah, I like that Gibson call. So I'm glad we're on it. I felt like last year maybe I was always on Gibson and you never were.
You were. Him and Odorizzi were your two guys, and Odorizzi's certainly a guy who I'd rather have more in Minnesota. But yeah, I think with Gibson today, price works. I think at that price range, we'll talk about another guy in a little bit, or maybe I'll segue to him now. Max Fried interests me a little, and again, the deeper dive guys worried me a little bit about talking a lot at length about his curveball and how it may have some problems falling just because of how physics work out in Mile High. But I think Fried and Gibson are two interesting plays at that price range. You do have some upside. The team total for going against Fried is very worrisome for the Rockies. You know they haven't hit anything at all this year. They have the biggest team total on the slate. That worries me a little bit about Fried. So I think just getting to Gibson was sort of logical if I am going to have any Fried. The Mets order does worry me a little bit, though, and Gibson has started pretty poorly to start the year. terrible whip, giving up some home runs, giving up pretty much bad contact across the board. But a 4.1 run total for Gibson, I think that's fair. That's pretty much the best out of that group of cheap guys. So, yeah, I think Gibson and hoping for a pitcher's duel, I think, is a logical approach.
Yeah, so we'll be on hopefully the right side of that one. What are you doing with Marquez? I just saw someone, Sean V in chat, our buddy Sean V, brought up Marquez. What do you think about him in Coors?
So I didn't get there today. I think his price is like a little bit too much for, a Braves lineup who isn't maybe hitting up to their potential right now, but I think there are some scary parts of it. I think the bottom of the order for the Braves in particular, that's what worries me a lot. And that's actually a stack that I made sure to get in there. Albies and Flowers, I think, really matched to start the year. And on paper, just not a bad matchup for those guys. I don't know. I don't love Marquez. I could see wanting to get there. Very low owned so far. We haven't been under 5% ownership. Maybe it will be a little higher than that. I don't know. I'm not doing it. I have much more free than Marquez, which I think could be a very dangerous choice, but that's how I shook out today.
Yeah, so I thought I was going to get more of Marquez as well. And I actually am not really ending up there, even though he is super low owned, which I always like. It's a tough matchup. It's Coors. He's pitched fine in Coors, though. And his pitch that he relies on the most is the slider, at least to miss bats. So you could see him having an okay start. I just don't know that the strikeout upside is huge for Marquez in this spot, whereas I think a lot of other teams, if he was going up against them at low ownership in Coors, I'd be more likely to take a big stand on him.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much there too. If you were a little cheaper, like if you were in the 7Ks on DraftKings, I'd be more interested. But at 8,800 versus a Braves team who, does have the potential, if nothing else, and actually has hit pretty well, at least in parts to start the year. Yeah, I think it's not a great spot to go to Marquez and not one I'm landing on a bunch. What other pitchers are you getting the most?
All right, so I'm just loading in the lineups here. Looks like I am getting sort by exposure. Derek Holland is a guy that the deeper dive guys were talking about quite a bit, and I was a little worried about them, or I was a little bit worried about playing a bunch of Holland, but they sort of pushed me in the right direction, I think. So I'm pretty heavy on Derek Holland here. Nothing bad about his first couple starts. He had a decent start, I believe it was against the Padres in his first one out. He can miss bats at times. He's fine against righties outside of hard contact, but he's 6,800 home and a pretty decent total against him, pretty low total against him, just over 4 runs there. Winnable game, great pitcher's park, and probably some strikeout upside here for Derek Holland.
So I have some Holland, but I pretty much have an equal amount of Padres on the other side. I think, not a great team total here, and obviously being at San Francisco's home park is not going to be a big benefit for the hitters on the Padres side. But the righties here, it's all righties besides Lucchesi in that batting order going against Holland. And Holland does have some pretty noteworthy splits going against righties versus lefties. He's given up a 1.42 whip versus a 0.93 whip versus lefties. Home runs as well above average versus righties, where he doesn't really give up any versus lefties. And the righties here for San Diego have been hitting really well. On the year so far, their isolated power is at 271. So they're really smacking that ball around. So I actually think the Padres are an interesting kind of cheaper stack in a couple different ways. And I do have Holland, but I feel like Holland, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets blown up today.
So I'm playing 150. So I'm going to have actually some Padres stacks. I think that's a fine call. If things go bad for Holland, there's a good chance they go really bad because there is a lot of righty power here. You've got Machado and Renfroe, 2 guys that we know can hit lefties. And then like Kinsler, Will Myers, I didn't even mention him in that category, but like Reyes, the top 5 really have a lot of power and upside if Holland really isn't on his game, which certainly could be likely. And he is getting a little bit of ownership. I think he's 12 or 15% right now on our last update. So maybe a little bit of leverage there as well if you can get the Padres stack right.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think Lucchesi's pretty interesting on the other side. It's hard to pay that price for Lucchesi, but in this kind of matchup, the Giants starting the year really poorly to the point where they're just trying to get pretty much anybody with any. They made a trade for Tyler Austin, which who I guess is supposed to be in the lineup today, but we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. They need anybody who can hit anything right now. That lineup starting the year very cold and just on paper don't look that good. So awesome. I'd rather go to Lucchesi than Holland, but the price on Holland, it's hard not to have some exposure if he has a shot at least mediocrity.
The Tyler Austin you mentioned, he is batting second. The Giants lineup just came out a few minutes ago, so we'll get a chance to play him.
He's not a bad play, honestly, especially if Lucchesi. We did just get an ownership update, which I need to update on my sheet. But if I want to see Lucchesi's ownership, because if Lucchesi is going to be higher owned than he's currently projected for, right now we had him at 10% at the update before most recent. Let's see what this one has for him. Well, it's taken a while to load. But yeah, Lucchesi be an interesting play, but I want to see his ownership right now. Also, the site's loading all janky too.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too. Must be getting a lot of hits on it. So
a lot of people checking out all the NBA and MLB ownership content. Yeah, the menu bar thing is just loading, and the ownership itself isn't.
Are you playing NBA today, by the way?
I am. It's a tough day to do that, but so a lot of the news is already in for NBA, and like you're gonna certainly have to make some pivots and stuff. There we go. There's ownership. All right, Chelsea can't even control that false loading. Jesus. Yeah, NBA is tough today, but I think a lot of the news is out there. And obviously, if you are playing NBA, you might want to have both this stream and the live before lock stream with Josh and Eddie. They're both doing it today. Come on, Jesus, page unresponsive. This is a tough.
So ownership. Ownership. What are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm looking for Lucchesi's ownership just to see if he's gone up.
He is 11%.
Okay, so he went up slightly. So it's not really worth going to leverage there. But I think if you were going to go to leverage against Lucchesi, I think Tyler Austin would, maybe for the late slate, interesting leverage if he's going to be that high in the order.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we do have night slate ownership projections if you are into that kind of thing as well.
We do. And use that promo code live before lock to get half off your first month there. You could use it for your regular slate right now or for the night slate later. So check that out. Also, hit that like button right now. We got some dislikes because people, whenever they get confused by which stream is running, the NBA fans town vote like jerks. So please hit that like button. Help us out to balance out people being needlessly negative like a caveman smashing things. What other pitchers are you getting the most so far, Jake? We talked about 2 fertile pitching spots. Anybody in a crappy spot who you're thinking looks pretty good, even though the run total's not that great?
I guess Marquez I would put in that category just as a super low-owned guy and super talented. I don't know yet what I'm doing with, like, I would like to get to some Marco. I don't know that it's a perfect spot, but I think there are strikeouts there, especially. And he does get a lot of called strikes. The guys on the Deeper Dive are also talking about that. Minor is a guy that I'm playing a little bit of. He's just too cheap, I think. And he is, I think, a pretty decent pitcher against righties and lefties. He's going to get a good amount of righties. But he doesn't really, like, Arizona doesn't really scare me all that much. The weather does, though. So that's the only thing with Minor. I've come down on him a little bit, but I'm still, it looks like a little bit above the field.
Okay. Yeah, Minor, not a guy I landed on much. So I think to me in that price range, it was either Gibson. I mean, I'm not playing 150. I'm doing a max 20, so it's a little bit different of an equation there. But Gibson or Fried were my guys in that mid-range, and a little bit of Harvey just because. I mean, a bounce back day here. It's not a great run total for Milwaukee. Oh no, oh, man. Here's some NBA news. Karl-Anthony Towns is out now, by the way. That's not the most helpful. Yeah, Harvey, I think, in a bounce back spot, not the worst with Milwaukee, who's obviously going to be better hitting at home, and they really haven't been that great overall as a team. I think they're scary, but I don't mind going back to Harvey today and hoping he's better as a cheap guy. You can't play John Means, right? I assume you're not getting there at all?
No, I crossed him off. He's just not going to pitch far enough into the game. So
yeah, and a dangerous spot too for a lefty versus this Athletics order, but I feel like we just need to hit on him. I think they're expecting him to get 4 innings, maybe tops, so that's probably not enough to do anything even at his price.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do much. What do you think about, like, we're expecting Baltimore to kind of be a bullpen game. What do you think about just in general attacking bullpen games? I know it's a big total here for Oakland, and it's a fine spot for them, but like if you just think about them having to face a different pitcher every couple innings for the entire game rather than you get the starter for 5 or 6 innings and then you face a couple innings against the bullpen type of thing. What do you think about that just in general?
So for Baltimore, their bullpen's so bad to start the year. They have a 7% home run rate to start the year, and that's not great. And also giving up a ton of walks and hits pretty much towards the bottom of the slate in every category. So I think in that case, like if they had a really dangerous bullpen and, or a manager, I guess, trust really being effective at that, I think that could be something. And, they should be more susceptible to righties here, given that they're pretty much playing entirely righties. But I think in a case of a team this bad with a big total, I don't mind it. With the Rays, I don't love going against the Rays when they do that because, like, they know what they're doing, whereas like Baltimore, I don't think they do. Right. I don't know if you feel the same way, but that's sort of how I feel about it.
No, I definitely agree. Rays, much sharper organization. They do more with less than any other team probably in the MLB.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's fair. Let's see. Any questions in the premium Slack? All right, no, we're good there.
So the thing about
what else do we have? I guess Aaron Nola, another guy who's been talked about as being a pivot to some of the higher priced, maybe not higher owned, or at least slightly higher owned guys of DeGrom and Cole. I think it's a good spot for Nola. The Nationals starting the year pretty poorly, striking out a lot. I think it's a winnable spot. Nola has good stuff, so I don't mind him as a pivot. Though I think too his price still a little bit high for me, just to make any sort of good stacks work. But what about you with Nola?
Yeah, I just didn't really need to find a ton of pivots off of DeGrom based on what I'm trying to do tonight. So, I mean, they're obviously different price ranges. They're 2K apart or a little bit more. So I don't really love attacking the Nationals. Like even the righties, like Dozier and Rendon, Zimmerman, and like those guys all are pretty solid hitters. And then I'm pretty worried about Soto, especially against Nola. They also just got touched up by him, I think, a few days ago.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Nola's a good play, but not a guy who I'm dying to get to. And I think the Nationals just seem like they're due to be a little bit less terrible than they have been. And I don't know if this is the spot where I want to go there, but I think the upside's there for Nola and some exposure. I think matching the field on Nola is probably the move, and I think that's pretty much where I shook out. Bathrobe DFS, who I like and is very smart, saying in the chat that John Means is still going to outscore a lot of pitchers for 4,500. I think the point is, like, you're not trying to roster the pitchers who he's going to outscore. Like, I mean, if you think everybody who's good is going to blow up, but you really pretty much need every pitcher above him to blow up, I don't think that seems pretty unlikely. If you really load up on a stack, I think that could be an approach, but you really need every high price stack to be good, or at least the high price stacks you go with to be good. And you need then all the pitchers to be as bad as a 4,500 guy who's going to pitch 4 innings. I don't think that's a great recipe overall.
Or you need DeGrom to get like 40 and then Means to get you 15 and then a bunch of mid-tier to expensive bats to go off. So just from a roster construction standpoint, I don't think it's really necessary tonight. I think even though I don't like playing this guy, the leadoff guy for Colorado, that's $2,900 platoon advantage, whatever. He's leading off in Coors. He's going to be super chalky. I think I'd rather do that rather than get to a $4,500 pitcher that I don't think is going to go very long.
Yeah, a $4,500 pitcher who's not going to go very long and also just been getting hammered across the board, I think is not the best spot to be. That said, I think, Jake, your approach is pretty much how I shook out with it, where I think I have 3 out of my 20 lineups have Means in there, and it was mostly because it was DeGrom and stacks that I liked, and I think there's an outcome there where it works. But if your approach today is like loading up on Means and thinking that that's somehow going to help you afford guys, I think you can do the same thing with $6,000 pitchers or with $7,000 pitchers and still have a similar outcome.
Yes, I agree.
All right, we're at the halfway point. It's been a tough run, tough week last week for the home run picks. After starting pretty hot, we got a bunch of misses last week. The sheet is filled with red, but we're gonna get back on track this week. I'm still in the lead. EMAC 1 behind me, along with Josh and Jake. Not on the board yet, but today, Jake is your day. Who are you getting on the board with the home run picks?
Let's see here. I just take a guy that I'm going to be heavily exposed to. Not going to take Encarnacion because he double donged yesterday. Just, law of averages. Can't be doing that. I'm going to go with Brantley again. I do like him. He's one of my highest exposed players. I picked him the other day. He let me down, but that's all right. I'll go right back to Michael Brantley here.
All right, Michael Brantley, put that in for you. I'm going to go, you know what? I'm confident enough in going against the Orioles, which I'm going to go that way today. Do I take the obvious guy or the slightly less obvious guy who's hitting hotter? I'm going to go... This is a tough choice. I'm going to go with Chris Davis, even though Mark Hanha grades out slightly better to me. I think just Chris Davis is probably the better, safer play overall in terms of the potential of hitting a home run. And again, like I mentioned when Jake asked, the bullpen pretty bad, so even if Means doesn't get shelled, there's a decent chance somebody does. So Chris Davis, and really any athletic, I think could have been a pretty good home run pick today.
Yeah, probably. You're probably right about that.
All right. Any pitchers else that you want to talk about that we haven't hit on? Anybody that's jumped out to you who you feel like is actually worth mentioning to the people?
No, I don't think so. Like Junis, Greinke, Strasburg, Hudson, those guys are all like below 5% for me. So I don't really think we need to talk about them much. They're just a product of uniques and using some randomness on Fantasy Cruncher.
Yeah, I think we covered. I don't have any Strasburg. The strip line. I do have a one Dakota Hudson lineup because that total for the Dodgers seems really low, even though they're so good. But that's just really more to hedge against some Dodgers stacks I have. And we got questions about Losaiga. He's a guy who's had some moments for the Yankees, but also just tends to get yanked pretty quickly because they do have that bullpen who backs them up pretty well. And Houston is certainly not a spot to go into with a 4.8 run total. It feels that good. Would you have any, or do you have any Losaiga right now?
I don't. Just Houston's a tough matchup for a 7K pitcher that we don't know how long he's going to go. Good bullpen behind him. So, like, Yankees pitchers are just frustrating in general from that standpoint. You've got a good bullpen behind, and they'll just, like, even if you're cruising with, like, 80 pitches in 6 innings, you're probably getting pulled. So, I just don't see it as a high upside spot, and I'd rather take another share of a guy like Gibson or Minor, who I think do have a little bit more upside.
Yep. And we'll close the loop on Max Fried. I assume you are on the side of not backing Max Fried today, right?
I have actually. I guess I would be. I'm over the field. He's 1% right now, so I have like 5%. He's just talented.
So, I have a little bit more than that, but I would say what? Here's a gift. We removed the 40-minute time limit on your first group meeting. I've done many group meetings. Oh, you know why? Because it thinks there's 2 of you. Oh, that's not great. I think we're fine though, but we almost had a chance where the stream is going to cut out after 40 minutes. I guess I think there's 2 Jakes in there. Yeah, Fried can certainly get rocked, and I do have enough Rockies in there where I feel hedged about it. But a curveball that won't drop and not a great swinging strike rate, not a great chase rate could be a bad recipe for a bad day. And then obviously the highest Vegas total on the board for the Rockies doesn't benefit Fried, but I think he's just shown me enough this year where I'm intrigued by what he's doing. And the Rockies have been so bad to start the year where I think that's how I'm justifying it in my head. But
sure.
Yeah, Fried, the deeper dive guys really made me worry about my Fried position at all.
The Rockies were also bad last night for 4 2/3, and then they just smoked Tehran in like 2 at-bats. So, yeah, that killed me. But anyways, there's something I was going to ask you. Paul Blackburn of the Night Makadass.
Okay, our guy Makad always likes to know who would be the crappy pitcher who could end up in a potentially in a tournament-winning lineup. Who fits that criteria today? Who would be your pick for that? I think for me, it would have to be Kyle Gibson because he's the cheapest guy who I'm going with, who I have any sort of confidence in. But what would you say, Jake?
That's what I would say, Gibson. I don't think he's bad, but he is going to get 20% ownership. So maybe if you're going for like a lower owned guy, maybe I would say probably Fried. I don't think he's bad either, but probably Marco, if that counts, 7,600. He's overpriced a little bit, but I think he could end up in a tournament-winning lineup.
It's not a very fertile cheap guy tier because even the cheap guys in the 6Ks aren't really that cheap. But it's not the best. So I think Kyle Gibson would be a safe pick. You could say Means too. Like maybe Means gets you to a very crazy construction, which could maybe we're just not seeing right now. But I think that's not based on his skill. That's just more about what his salary lets you do. Let's go to stacks. Which stacks are you coming up the most with?
Stacks. I know Texas is one of them. So I think people were talking about them in chat. Texas, I do have a good amount of Phillies, Astros, go along with my home run pick. Michael Brantley off Loisiga. And then kind of the more obvious ones, I think Seattle. The Mets, I do have like a bunch of, if you want to call them hedge stacks or whatever, I do have a bunch of Mets stacks against Gibson because I think if that goes bad, that can go really, really bad. It's usually one or the other with Gibson. So those are kind of my top plays of the night, top stacks.
Yeah, I too have some Mets. I think they're an interesting play. I think this is one of those 50-50 games where like either outcome wouldn't surprise me if the Mets had a especially like the 2 through 5 guys, I think, or 2 through 6, I think is a pretty interesting stack of Mets. But Gibson, 4.1 run total. That's about as good as you can get for the guys in that 6K price range on DraftKings. I don't have much Houston. I think I have barely any Houston, actually. Colorado, I went there. Atlanta, I went there just because of the Coors matchup. A decent clip. Padres, I mentioned too, going against Derek Holland, a little bit interesting. Even though the run total isn't supported by Vegas very much. Well, Oakland too, certainly there quite a bit because Means stinks and the bullpen, or at least it doesn't look great on paper, and the bullpen also probably definitely stinks. And I think those are my main ones right now. I didn't get any Minnesota. I feel like going against DeGrom, not an option to there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to get that cute. I don't even want to say any hitters on the Twins because I don't know that I'm playing any of them.
Astudillo comes up a little bit because of the price and being in that spot in the order, but he's going to be 10% owned, or at least on the most recent update I have. But besides that, yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's a spot where you're getting too cute. I can see going against Cole than I would going against DeGrom more.
Oh, 100%. I definitely agree with that. Like Cole is more likely to give up power, I think, and it's the Yankees. They're pretty cheap, some of their guys. Like you're getting pretty good discounts on Judge and Sanchez, Gleiber especially. So, yeah, I'd much rather go up. If you're like stacking or taking 2 or 3 hitters against Cole or DeGrom, I think it would definitely be Yankees bats for me.
Okay. Let's see if there's any good questions. Any other stacks, I guess, that you feel are perhaps underowned and you have some exposure to? We do have enough teams here who have pretty much the entire stack under 10%. Any of them coming up to you? The Padres are really the only one for me who fit that criteria at any volume.
St. Louis, I'm getting to some of them. I don't know. Maybe my model thinks Stripling's a little bit overrated. I don't know that that's true, but just a ton of power on St. Louis. So when they're going to be pretty low owned, like it looks like they're going to be, I've got them as like a bottom 8 stack or bottom 8 team as far as exposure goes, total exposure. So I would assume they're going to be pretty low owned as a stack, and I'll take a shot on them pretty much any time with this lineup they've got going on.
All right. Yeah, that seems fair to me. Let's see if we have any good questions in the YouTube chat or the premium Slack. Of course, if you are not a premium member, go do it now. Use that promo code Bible before lock. This is the first place we look for questions for every sport. So go do that now. Use the promo code Bible before lock to get half off your first month on any package. Here we go. There's a question from Army Forever with an exclamation point. So an enthusiastic for our troops, and I support that, Army Forever.
Nice.
Do you think Greinke has 30-point potential tonight?
Greinke? I mean, hasn't he already had 30 points in a game so far this season? I'm pretty sure he has. I guess, yeah, the short answer is yes. By the way, we have the Brewers lineup. Yeah, I think if things go really well for Greinke, the Rangers have a bunch of strikeouts. So, yeah, I think he's probably the lowest price guy that I think has 30-plus point potential. Maybe you can make an argument for Marquez. But Greinke's got a better matchup just as far as strikeouts go. So if these Rangers do swing and miss a ton, or if Greinke's got his best stuff, yeah, I could see it happen. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, I don't really see it for Greinke today, but I think, going against the Rangers away from home, I guess Arizona, the roof is supposed to be open right today, so I guess that a better hitting environment, so maybe not the best spot to go against them, but I don't mind Greinke, but it's a good run total, so I think I support Greinke as far as that goes, but at that price range, I'd rather find more money and go to Nola or somebody, or go a little bit cheaper and find, like Greinke's at a weird island kind of price, so maybe that's his value.
Sure. Yeah.
Yelich, Double Dong. Oh boy.
We had one. I want to answer quick. Vogelbach or Edwin Encarnacion. Have you seen what Vogelbach looks like? By the way.
He's a big beefy boy, right?
Oh my God, this guy just looks like the biggest farm guy ever. So he's fun to watch hit, and he's crushing right now. But regardless, I think I still would go Vogelbach over E5 there. So I don't know what the ownerships are off the top of my head, but I'm assuming Encarnacion coming off a double dong is going to be a little bit higher owned.
Yeah, Vogelbach has been raking to start the year, and really just in all his MLB appearances. He's only had a little bit under 100 at bats versus a righty, but 8.2% home run rate. And this year he's hitting he's getting on base 600. He's got a ton of power. So Vogelbach's WRC plus for the year so far. You want to guess where that falls?
It's got to be like 300.
433.
No way. That's
With a
outrageous.
21.7% home run rate.
That's crazy. Even for 10 games in, not even don't see that often.
He'll probably trickle down a little, some may say.
I would say he would.
A decent possibility of that, perhaps. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Homers tonight. We already gave our picks, but the home run picks for the day. I went with Chris Davis, and Jake went with Michael Brantley. Going back to the Brantley well once more.
Yeah. I think he's going to get one for me this time.
Wind blowing out 16 to 17 miles per hour to right at Texas. I think he means at Arizona. So I guess a windy day in Arizona today, if we're to believe David Riggs.
Do you want to address the Chris Davis thing, the Orioles Chris Davis thing, or what? Just give a quick thought.
So what is his price? Because he's not listed on our ownership because I think he's not the starting lineup.
Yeah, so he's not playing. But if he were playing, I know that was kind of a popular topic around Twitter today. What do you think about that? FanDuel making him $500.
Oh, so it's okay. I didn't know he was priced at 500. So I saw some people saying he should probably just be free and then you should see what happens. I think it's a bit silly, but it's hard to argue the offer. And he was terrible last year too, and he's been terrible. So I think at a certain point, it's just kind of fool's money. And I get wanting to go there. I guess if you are going to go there, going there against Brett Anderson would have been a spot to do it. Or a guy in that kind of caliber who gives up some walks and hits and maybe some power. I mean, more to righties than to lefties, but I think Brett Anderson would be a guy who you would go with Chris Davis with. But in general, I feel like it's just a trap. I don't like pricing that just feels like a trap, and that to me does feel that way.
Yeah. I think it's pretty stupid, just making kind of a mockery of it. So yeah, I agree with you there. It is a trap.
It
I
feels
wouldn't
like
play him.
Publicity stunty in a way that I feel like FanDuel's been doing a lot with some of their the gambling stuff that they do and all of that. Which I respect. You got to get your attention somewhere, and that's fine. But I think it's not really it's kind of a fish play. I think where they see the press release and ooh, Chris Davis is so cheap, and I got to go there. And in reality, he's probably at best going to get you 3 points, and sure, that's a great 6x.
But a lot of it on Twitter is just people saying this is the stupidest thing ever. But I guess that's all publicity is good publicity, right? Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're talking about sharper players, I think people are going to recognize okay, I could play some of this guy, but in general, if he's not hitting the ball and he hasn't shown any signs of life in a season and a half, I think sharper players won't go there, but the fishier players, I think, on FanDuel would be more inclined to give that one a go.
I would agree.
All right, let's see. What else do we have question-wise? Anything you're thinking, Jake? I feel like we covered this at remarkable speed where I don't really have anything that jumps out to mind. Oh, Cardinals. Cardinals, not a team we talked about at all.
So I just mentioned them, actually.
We mentioned Stripling.
No.
But the Cardinals stack? Oh, did you?
No, I mentioned Cardinals stack, just that they have so much power. But
okay.
Yeah, why? You like the Cardinals?
No, I don't.
Okay.
but because I think Stripling is good enough. But I just feel like they're a team we didn't talk about at all, or at least at much depth. And this matchup feels like it could have some more points than Vegas is giving it. But I think they're supporting a Dakota Hudson renaissance apparently. Yeah. I don't know that I see that. I'd rather have Dodgers than Dakota Hudson as well if we're talking about crappy pitchers who fit that criteria.
Yeah, I think I would too. In fact, I do.
There you go. So you're backing it up with your dollar on this one.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. What else do we got here?
Top plays by position. Eric, if you want that, probably just go to the deeper dive. They kind of do that. We do a little bit of a different show. But I don't know, unless you want to do that, Chris.
But no, certainly.
That's kind of their thing. Yeah, I don't want to steal their thing.
I guess. Well, which guys do you feel like you're getting more of than the field is going to get today at whatever position? Just
Brantley,
one, not stack wise, but I guess just which guys do you feel like you're getting a decent amount of?
Brantley, Chu, Gallo, shortstop. It looks like Andrews. So a bunch of Rangers. Second base, Altuve. Catcher, nothing really noticeable there. Same thing with first. I'm super spread out there. And then Carpenter, I guess, at third. So those probably aren't the top optimal plays, but those are kind of my favorite tournament plays, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah, nobody's really jumping out to me as somebody who I have significantly more as a one-off type play. Yeah, I think you covered it well enough. What about Daza? Like we talked about him briefly, but he is 2,900 on DraftKings. He's hitting leadoff. He's going to be about 40% owned, possibly a bit more than that. Doesn't have a ton of power, more of a speed guy than anything. But what do you do with Jonathan Daza in that spot, with a nice team total and a matchup at Coors?
So the plan is to just kind of project him how he goes, or how he's supposed to be projected, and limit ownership on my lineups. And I think if you play him and DeGrom together, like it's obviously not going to be sneaky. Everyone's going to know what you're doing there. So for me, anytime there's a hitter and one that isn't really a high upside hitter, I mean, in the context of a stack, I think he's great. If you like the Rocky stack, play the $2,900 outfielder. There's a good chance if the Rockies score 10 plus runs here that he gets you 10 DK points, and that's going to be fine. But yeah, as a one-off, I'd rather not do that with what's his name, Daza? Yeah, Jonathan.
Yep, Jonathan Daza.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know, just not playing him as a one-off. If I'm playing him, I'm stacking him with someone on the Rockies, at least a couple players.
Mickey Pham in the YouTube chat saying, deeper dive is game by game. Live before lock is position. No, that's not true. I say that as somebody who has hosted, I think 90% of the live before locks in the history of this show. That is in fact not true. We just go by whatever the relevant news items are.
Yeah, we just go where, take the show where it takes us.
Yeah, no, that is certainly not a thing where you go position by position. I think Eddie does that in basketball sometimes. But that's mostly because he has so many thoughts in his head that need to come out. With that beautiful mind of his. So that would be the reason why. But
That's true. That's true.
And sometimes that guy's like, no, the show you guys do often does this. Like that's inaccurate, sir.
Yeah, well, what would you know about that, Chris?
Yeah, it's true. I just showed up today and I'm like, hey, let's just talk about things. It's not the format the show has had for the last year and change.
How does the show work?
Moustakas or Marte? Which of the two would you go with?
Moustakas or Kettle Marte? Moustakas for me.
I might. I might go Marte on that one. I didn't get a lot of Brewers today, and I think I do have more Marte, so I'll go Marte.
Okay. I don't know. That's from what I remember, their ownerships were similar. So for me, I just think Moustakas is a way better hitter. But let's see where they're at in the last update. Crunch are moving real slow for me. It looks
Tough
like
day on the internet.
What's that?
Tough day on the internet for all the DFS websites.
Yeah. Oh, were there other ones that were having problems? Oh,
I just meant our ownership before. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're good now, though. I think.
So Kettle Marte, yeah, and then Moustakas is all right. Well, yeah. Actually, Moustakas is lower owned than Marte. Either way, it's going to be close. So for me, just take the better hitter against Matt Harvey. Seems pretty simple to me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I still think Matt Harvey is going to have better days. I mean, not good days to be clear, but not a spot where I'm finding it one where I'm dying to stack against Harvey. And I think too, him coming off of a big blowout type situation, I feel like that's what people are always like, smelling blood in the water with Harvey. And I don't know. I'd rather take the Brewers when they're playing at home and they're giving up, they're getting shelled, their pitcher is just getting rocked always in Brewer Park.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Beer from Rotogram. Oh, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. Somebody has 3 Brewers at a 6-pack. That means I'm fading Brewers. Sure. Whatever logic you want to get there with. Sean V, I support it.
If you're using people's advice and you're making money, I mean, using it in some way,
That's true. I'm sure they would be thrilled to hear when you're just fading picks outwardly. But like you take Milwaukee when they're at home. I think that's sort of the time where I like Milwaukee the most. But
just not a perfect park. I agree with you there.
All right. Milwaukee lineup out. Yes, I believe the Milwaukee lineup is out. I'm really scared to fade DeGrom and the Rockies bats, but it's really hard to get both. What do you guys think?
I mean, you can get some of both if you play DeGrom with Daza. Take one of the guys at the end of the order of the Rockies. So there's ways to do it. I mean, there's really one way to do it, and that's to play Daza. So I'm going to try to avoid DeGrom, Daza lineups as much as possible. Am I saying the guy's name right? Daza?
I think it's Daza. I mean, there might be like and an accent somewhere on there. But
Looks like no accent.
Let's see. What do we get? What else? No, good question. What about Peralta against the Angels? Peralta against the Angels.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
So for me,
oh, Freddie. Oh, I didn't even think it was. So that's how off the radar Freddie is for me.
Yeah, I know. We haven't mentioned it. We haven't said his name once.
Yeah, so I didn't get there at all. He's again just super high price for Freddie Peralta. I guess I could see going against this Angels lineup is just so bad. It's really just Trout's carrying everything for that entire team. So you can get strikeouts from these other guys. It's not a bad approach, but it feels like a lot to pay when you have Nola there, and you could just pay a little more to get to DeGrom. A bit more to get to DeGrom. But what do you think about Peralta going against the Angels here? Not a bad run total, and the Angels lineup just garbage.
Yeah, I didn't get there. So he's coming off a really good start. First start wasn't good. He's going to have starts where he misses a ton of bats when he's got his fastball working, but he really only has his fastball. So that's the concern with him. He's going to be prone to blow up starts. I'm more on the Angels side in that I don't think I have a single Peralta share, and I do have quite a few LA stacks here.
Yeah, I mean, I really I couldn't be more off Peralta. If that was me being confused by what was going on, I was like, is Johnny Peralta hitting? Is he on a new team?
Johnny Peralta.
But yeah, no, Freddie Peralta for me. But I get the logic in knowing there. It is a decent hitting park situation, and the Angels are bad, so not a bad move. But it just feels like a lot to pay for Peralta. I think if you were in the 8K range, he would have probably popped a little more for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh boy. See, here's a here. Any chance Chris Davis gets a pinch hit? Sure, there's a chance, but he's still probably not worth playing.
Don't do that. Don't play him. Just don't. Just don't play Chris Davis. That's all I gotta say. The Chris Davis with a C.
Yes, yeah, with a K, a great play. Who is going to almost certainly hit a home run today, but the other Chris, not so much.
Yeah, in your dreams.
Who do I play with DeGrom on DK? All right, I guess what would you find to be the most logical line of construction to play with DeGrom and get there? I guess who would you go to as a pitcher too? Well, don't spell the whole thing, but give a couple options for you to give as a pitcher too, and I guess which stacks you think work the best with DeGrom.
Just like an SP2 that I like with DeGrom.
Yeah, give a group of 3, let's say, of SP2s.
Yeah. Okay.
Go.
My highest.
Not giving out a lineup.
Yeah, my highest 3 with DeGrom right now are Holland, Gibson, and Minor. So, a good amount of basically all the guys we talked about. I'm actually getting to a decent amount of Max Fried. Basically all my Max Fried lineups are with DeGrom. So I think he jumped up a little bit on the projections on the site. I don't know if there was some line movement or, maybe just Alex or whoever's behind them today is just, thought that his projection was wrong. I don't know. But, figured out a way to get in 70% DeGrom with a mixture of all these SP2s.
Isn't Chris Davis out? Chris Davis, I don't think is out. He's just not in the starting lineup. So
yeah,
I believe he's available to pinch hit. We're just saying not a good idea. Definitely not a good idea. It's probably not a good idea to play him if he were in the starting lineup. Definitely not a good idea to play him off the bench, hoping that he gets at bats.
100%. Yeah.
Mancini or Kettle Marte for 4,200. A lot of either ors for Kettle Marte for 4,200 on DK.
Mancini or Kettle Marte. How about Mancini yesterday, huh? For me, I think that one would be Marte.
Yeah, it'd be Marte again for me too. So team Marte today, even though I'm really not team Marte.
Yeah.
What about Jock Peterson? I think that any sort of Dodgers configuration is good, and I do have a couple one-offs of Jock Peterson as well, because Dakota Hudson, a bad pitcher in general, but appreciably worse versus lefties so far. Only 72 batters faced on the left side of the plate. Actually, weirdly, he's faced the same amount of lefties and righties, which is pretty rare, I think, for a guy with a limited sample size. But so bad versus lefties, and then going with Jock, a perfectly fine play.
Yep. I do like the Jock call quite a bit.
These actually would be an interesting home run pick, but we didn't make it.
We did not. I feel like I'm kind of ignoring the Dodgers a little bit, even though I'm not. Like, it feels like I just haven't talked about them as much as I probably should have.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Dodgers are worth more love. The thing is, that total just isn't that great, like a 4.4. I think if it were a 4.8, they'd be in the mix more, and Like, I would rather take the Dodgers in their 4-4 in the spot versus Hudson than Houston with 4-8. Like, I definitely have more Dodgers than I do Astros right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got more Astros by a little bit of a margin. Nothing crazy, but I cap stacks pretty low and just try to get differentiation in my lineups. At least that's what I've been doing lately.
Any good questions? Kevin PR, or is it Pilar or PR? I feel like it should be PR.
Pilar?
Pilar? Why is it Pilar? 2 L's. Isn't he Latino?
I don't believe he is.
Oh, I guess that's why.
I mean, he's pretty white looking. I don't know. I don't want to make a.
Yeah, you don't want to cast any aspersions on anybody who may fit that criteria.
Right.
Crap. Thoughts on pitcher against Giants? What? You can't even give a name. Joey Lucchesi looks fine. I think he's a perfectly good play. Giants have been looking terrible, so I have no issue going to Lucchesi today.
Pitcher against the Giants. Yeah, his name. I don't know how to pronounce his name really. Lucchesi, whatever it is. I think the Giants are a fine matchup. I just don't know that he's a $9,200 pitcher. So if you like your lineup outside your bats and he's kind of your next guy, by all means go for him. But I think I'd rather take a shot on like a Marquez or get up to a Nola or Strasburg or something like that.
Yeah, I think that seems fair. I think Lucchesi is looking okay to me, but the price is hard to pay for him. He doesn't have a ton of strikeout upside, and you're really banking more on the Giants giving him the upside that he doesn't have a ton of. So, which I don't mind because the Giants are bad enough. But as I mentioned before, getting Tyler Austin there, another decent at bat guy, I think that makes him a little bit less attractive. And I think there is that lineup should get less worse, I think, as the year goes on.
Yep, I agree. Less worse.
A question in the premium basketball Slack that has tagged us asking, how big is your hitter player pool? I guess give your thoughts on player pools in baseball, Jake, real fast.
I'll tell you how many I have right now. Where am I at here? All players, I have 135. So I play a lot of players, obviously. That doesn't mean you have to. I know some pros play like 60, 70, 80 guys. They go with this tighter core. And maybe that might be a better thing to do with how some of these payout structures look lately. But for me, I like to spread it around in baseball. It's a variant sport. I like to be overweight on the 3 and 4% owned guys and stacks. So, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think that seems like a fair approach. I just hand build for my baseball lineups. So that is one thing I use optimizers to figure them out, and then I kind of pare it down from there. So that is generally the way that I'm doing it. And as a result, I do not have a player pool for baseball. So any other questions in Slack? No, back to YouTube. Giants below. They do, in fact, below. Tatis Jr. one-off. So I like that Padres stack, but I also think that Padres stack helps you afford DeGrom like we were talking about before. So I have no problem with any part of it. And I think Tatis Jr. certainly a part that's going to be low owned, under 5% projected ownership right now. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's fine. I got no issue with that at all. All right, I'm uploading my lineups right now. I entered in that $9 $50K to first, so we'll see. Just kind of a spur of the moment thing.
Did you max enter that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that is a tough one to be doing on a live stream.
Oh, it's all right. I mean, I had my 150. I was just deciding whether or not I want to pull the trigger, and I'm happy with my lineups, so I did.
As long as you're happy, Jake, that's all of us on this show.
Plus, there's no NHL anyway, so no NHL until tomorrow. I saw someone in chat talking about NHL playoffs, so we'll get that.
Gotta burn money somewhere.
Well, it's not burning money, let me tell you. Not if you're in the Osmo.com premium NHL Slack. We've got all the goods. Plus, I'll be doing shows still starting tomorrow. It'll be good.
I hate doing. I mean, honestly, I had 2 $15 lineups I had to do during the show, and I did not get them done. I got one done and just used it for both. So I admire your being willing. I know Josh in particular too, like really hates having any sort of decent money on a slate while doing a show. It is really impossible to do that.
Are you kidding? What do you mean? I mean, you just make your lineups and then you download the CSV beforehand. That's not too bad.
But if with actual money at stake, I feel like it gives me too much anxiety.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I don't usually play as high stakes for baseball, at least yet. But yeah, I'm looking to take more shots at some higher dollar tournaments. It was a good NHL season, so I feel like I've got a little bit of a buffer to kind of take some big stabs here early.
Well, here's an interesting one. Question from the YouTube chat from Eric Johnson. Who'd be the most likely Coors dude to homer for you?
Coors dude. That would be, I think, Freddie Freeman. No. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie.
Okay.
Trevor Story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about Rockies, but yeah, you know what? That's actually probably more logical to look at the Brave side for the home runs, actually. Especially the lefties. Yeah. You know what? I think that's not bad. Yeah, you know what? It's pretty going against Fried. I don't see a lot of weaknesses for Fried, but that's obviously not pitching at Coors. But going off my initial instinct, I think it'd be Trevor Story for me, just because there's a bigger run total for supporting the Rockies right now. So I think that'd be who I go with.
That's fair.
Are we locked? Is it a 705 or 710?
It is a 705. We are locked.
All right, so we are locked. There we go. Story against the lefty mashes. Yes, he does. But he's also not exempt from the terrible hitting on the Rockies this year. He's actually the only guy in the lineup tonight who's hit a home run this year, if I'm looking at this correctly.
Yeah. I'm reading chat. Jake, could you please get some decorations, furniture, some kind of decor in your room? I feel like we should all be concerned about your well-being. Yeah,
Jake doesn't have time to decorate. He only has time to make money and give fire picks and hockey.
Yeah, so it's actually not as sad of a looking room as you think. I do have a nice king-size bed. I got a TV over here. I've got windows, like big closet, bathroom. So I picked the most boring spot, and it only kind of works because I only have 50 feet of Ethernet cord. So unless you want me to lose the stream, it's kind of hard for me to decorate with the door behind me. So unless you've got any advice, I'm open to, what do you think I should put behind me? Like, I'm open to ideas here.
You go full Josh mode, get a green screen.
I thought about that. I looked into the pricing. I don't know. I mean, it's okay. Like, maybe I'll ask the bosses if they could get me a big Osmo.com, thing behind me.
I don't know about that. I mean, some of us have been waiting for production equipment for a while. But maybe a green screen is pretty cheap, so that's doable.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna do something at some point. My mom is really good at the interior design stuff, so I'll have her help me at some point.
Get a little koi pond back there.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
McCod saying it looks like you're in a prison library or computer room.
NHL fathead. I like that. Need some feng shui. I agree. Give me some ideas. What do you guys think?
Glenn Katz asking, is that dog alive? Yes, my dogs are always alive. They just sleep during the shows because they know they're not supposed to be around gallivanting about.
Very well trained. Nice.
Yeah, the one thing they do well is not yammering away or not barking and playing during streams now. There was a while, though, where like one of my dogs to get a rope and start swinging it around. I had to coach that out of her when I do the Four Corners videos. All right, we did everything. What else? Anything else you want to hit on? Any question? Look in the YouTube chat, see anything? How about a ficus for you, Jake? You got a ficus plant in there?
All right, someone send me a ficus, and I'll put it up. Yeah.
You even know what a ficus is?
I know it's a plant. I couldn't tell you which plant.
So we got that going.
Yeah, there you go.
I bet your mom knows if she knows how to decorate. She knows her way around a ficus real well.
I'm sure she does. Sounded
like a dirty joke about your mom, and I swear to God, it wasn't intended.
No, I know. That's cool.
Jake's mom loves a good ficus.
I'm sure she's got a bunch at her place.
Women do love plants. I was at somebody's house over the weekend who had like plants everywhere, and she's gonna get a moss wall installed. I was like, really? Like, you need a moss wall in your apartment? That's a little bit much.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going that route, but I'll start with a fathead or some sort of maybe a 3D look. Like, have you seen Pat Mayo's look? He's got a real nice studio looking layout. Yeah. Well,
he's got like tons of stuff though. That's too much to ask for you.
No, but that would be like the nut setup, I think. So
get a moss wall back there. And so like this girl was quoted $5,000 for her moss wall that she wanted to get installed. So
whoa.
Yeah, that's an LA moss wall. So I don't know if a Minnesota moss wall would be cheaper.
Yeah, it'd be like $12.
it's $12 and you get the supplies yourself and you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we got everything then. So I think that covers it all. If you need more information, if you want to play some night slates, use a promo code Live Before Lock. We do have a lot of night slate content, rankings that are updated, ownership projections that are updated. So check it out. Get half off your first month. Promo code Live Before Lock. Tomorrow, I think it's going to be you and Josh, unless we're
It's going to be me and EMAC, actually. I think it's the plan.
Oh, all right, there you go. So you and EMAC, and then Josh and Eddie, I think, will be on NBA tomorrow. And I'll be back on Thursday through Saturday doing this again. So yeah, what's the NHL schedule looking for you for the playoffs?
So we are going to be in full playoff slate mode starting tomorrow. I think we're going to get pretty good slates the next week, 10 days or so until teams start getting knocked out. So we'll have a week to 2 weeks of 4 and 5 game slates, and that'll be perfect. So I'll be doing shows starting tomorrow, 4 Eastern, normal time for the people that watch. Feel free to drop by. There are some decent tournaments, actually, so hopefully those fill and we can keep that up for the duration of the playoffs.
Yeah, sweet. And I will have NBA content tomorrow. I'll have my Four Corners video on this channel, the short form video giving you all the NBA news you could possibly fit into about 10 minutes. And then the NBA season is done, and I'm stuck in MLB forever, I guess. Like some sort of purgatory. I'll be trapped here.
Like you're in my room.
Home run picks, by the way, one more time, so you can root along for them. Chris Davis for me, Michael Brantley for Jake. So let's get on the board today, Jake. We need this.
Yeah, I think we're going to. I think Brantley maybe double dong, triple dong tonight. So it'll be good. It'll be good.
Yeah, and if Mark Canha has a home run, I think that still should count for me, even though it doesn't. It'll hurt me emotionally, but not financially. So go Athletics. Go everybody. Go hope all your lineups do well. We'll be back again soon with more MLB content. So thank you guys for watching, and good luck.